What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with this recent physique update from Foda. So this is one of the best looking front lat spread in the whole of men's open bodybuilding. Foda has the mass, he has the shape, he has the aesthetics. This is one of those poses where it is extremely difficult to create an illusion of having a small waistline if you do not have one to begin with. Now the biggest question is, what show is Foda gonna do as his first one for this year? Now, ideally speaking, there are zero reasons for him skipping this upcoming Dubai Pro. First of all, no travel required there by him as he trains and lives there in Dubai. No adjustments to the time zone needed. No disruption of the sleep schedule. But even then, for some reason, he chose to skip this show last year. And as of right now, it kind of seems like that he might skip this year's too. And for those of you guys who do not know, he was very close to being contest ready even last year. And same is the case this year too. Now Foda was the winner of Chicago Pro last year, and this year there is no open class in that show. So Italy or Portugal, which are scheduled in the next 4 weeks, that could have been a very good options for him. But as per the last statement by him, he did not get his visa for the Europe. So hopefully Foda learns from his experience and his mistake that he made last year by being too ready for a very long time, being in a contest ready phase for such a long time, like 6 weeks, before finally stepping on the stage. That did not do him any good last year. He looked at his all-time best at Chicago Pro last year, and by the time Olympia came, he was completely burnt out. And that is why his look at the Olympia last year, that just simply isn't one that Foda would like to remember. Now, all that being said, I think this is one of the great talent coming out of the Middle East. So let's see how he shows up this time and what kind of improvements he brings to the stage this time around, especially in the back department, because that is one of his weakest area, and that was still lacking in terms of the overall development in comparison to his front shots. So Terrence posted this comparison video of him posing back in 2023, just before his last show of the year, versus him before this year's New York Pro. And I mean no disrespect towards Terrence, but the new version of him that makes that 2023 version look kind of skinny and a bit on the smaller side. And that is exactly why the decision of skipping the Olympia last year was made. Because the way classic physique was evolving, Terrence would have never won the Olympia title with that old look of his. But the man took his time, and he came back so much better this time. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Terrence gained a total of 12 pounds of stage weight from 2023 to this year. But going by this video and the difference in his overall look, it definitely seems more than that. The growth in Terrence's quads, the big rounded curl look, that made one of the biggest difference in his overall retaper and the X-frame. And he was looking way more classic this time around. Plus the difference in the overall width, that is also quite evident and looking very outstanding. So this video right here paints a perfect picture for many of the young guys, for many of these young pros, that in order to excel in the sport of bodybuilding, you need to take time off and take the off-season as seriously as your prep. Because that is exactly what Terrence did. And look at his amazing transformation. And that is what he intends to do again for this upcoming Miss Olympia. That is one of the major reasons he chose to skip Dubai Pro and the biggest paycheck of his life. Now Terrence is one of those guys who has more of a scientific approach to his training and his workouts. And the man made one hell of a progress during the past 1 year. And not just that, since 2016. And that is all because of his training style. Now he has another 6 more pounds to go before he hits that weight cap. And based on his approach this time and this year, the man intends to utilize all 6 of them. Because the more weight and the more muscle, that has only enhanced his aesthetics, his retaper, and his classic look. So let's say if he can put on another 3 to 4 pounds before the Olympia this year, he will certainly look more complete. Next up, we have an 8.5 weeks out physique update from Jordan Hutchison. So Jordan this time is bringing more density, more overall thickness, more muscle mass, compared to all 3 of his looks that he presented last year. Now, if you have followed him, throughout his off-season, he trains very hard, very heavy, and this man struggled a lot when he was up in the high 290s. But now, after dropping about 15 pounds, his physique, his body has now started to take shape and flow, and the striations, they are already coming in very nicely. And the reason I'm saying he struggled at that high body weight is because he's one of those guys who has to force feed himself to go up to 300 pounds. But that being said, it is so unbelievable to see this comparison of him doing the back lat spread from last year versus this year, 16 pounds heavier, with so much more depth and density and way better condition than last year. Now you do not have to worry about Jordan being in shape. So he did a total of 3 shows last year, and he got better as the season progressed. And judging by his current look at 8.5 weeks out, you can see that he's gonna be peeled to the bone. So the question right now is that, can he realistically win a show and qualify for the Olympia? For instance, if he's going for this upcoming Tampa Pro, a show that is supposed to have a very deep lineup and a very competitive lineup. The thing is, we cannot say about that until we see the finished package. But one thing you can say is that he's going to be a much better bodybuilder this time around, with all the progress that he has been making, that he has been showcasing, compared to back in 2022. And the man has been continuously making progress. So Jordan's best showing and his best placing last year, that was Texas Pro, where he placed second behind Andrew Jacked. And I think he will do Texas Pro this year again. Another former Olympian, Patrick Moore, he hints at doing this upcoming Dubai Pro, which is happening in about 12 days time from now. And regardless of where he places, let's all hope that he shows up for that show, because that is another name, another renowned name added to the list of this upcoming Dubai Pro. And this will encourage the promoters to keep on putting more effort on making this show one of the biggest shows of the calendar year. So just in case you guys have forgotten, Patrick right now is riding the momentum of this past Legends Sports, where he showed up possibly with one of his best looks, upsetting some very big names, some very big guys, and placing second behind Tonio Burton. Now the competition at this upcoming Dubai Pro with Behrouz Tabani, Nathan Diesha, Tonio Burton, William Bonac, that is a lot more fierce. And on paper, it seems kind of impossible for a guy like Patrick to beat all of these guys. But the thing is, you can never know that one of these guys might come in off, and Patrick can sneak past them if he brings his best one more time. So what Patrick Moore is doing here, that is taking advantage of him being in an amazing shape. So if he decides to jump into this show, then this should be 100% appreciated by the fans. So Samson Dauda's 24 inches arms, they stole the show at the Battle of the Olympia 2025. So the champ is now back home, training in his own gym, which has always been a dream of his. And we are gonna see how that affects his Olympia prep for this year. Ideally, this should make his prep a lot more smoother and more comfortable. So it's no wonder how Samson Dauda is going that hard and that heavy when it comes to his back training. This is that one area where he needs to improve the most, along with a better overall conditioning. And even if you go back and listen to Nick's statement, he made himself beating someone like Samson Dauda conditional, that if Samson comes in off, then he can beat him. And that is exactly what we saw happen at this past Arnold, Ohio. Samson Dauda is the reigning Olympia champion, but he isn't being considered a very dominant champion as of right now. And that too for a very legit reason, because of him losing the first ever show after the Olympia last year to Derek Lunsford. Now that was the show he was supposed to dominate, but Derek had other plans. Now it's a matter of how far Samson's genetics allow him to take his conditioning to, how ripped, how shredded he can come in while maintaining all his muscle mass, all his wow factor. So as the best bodybuilder on the planet right now, there is no way you can question his dedication, his work ethic. Plus we have to keep in mind, this is gonna be a life-changing moment, winning the Olympia this time, because that is a lot of money on the line. So winning the second center of his life in October, that is the ultimate goal. So he's gonna be willing to suffer more than ever. So the Olympia last year was like Samson Dauda, unlocking new levels. Can he do that once again in 18 weeks time? So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.